under the crushing weight of the ocean. Where sunlight had never touched, humanity had always assumed silence ruled. The Mariana Trench, deepest scar of the Earth, was believed to be only pressure, rock, and abyssal creatures. But when the sonar pings returned, they carried echoes of rhythm, pulses that were neither natural nor accidental. At first, the research vessel dismissed the patterns as interference, but when the codes repeated across several expeditions, skepticism dissolved into unease. They were structured, ordered, too deliberate to be chance. The ocean, long thought empty of civilization, whispered with a voice not human. The first whispers came in fragments, pulses that seemed to stretch across hundreds of miles of black water. Naval authorities intercepted them, mistaking the signals for hostile submarines, but the frequencies were alien to any known technology. Scientists ran the data through computers, only to find repetition forming spirals and geometric harmonics. These were not sounds of tectonic shifts or whale song. They were crafted, as if someone deep beneath the crushing abyss was announcing existence. Humanity had always looked to the stars for proof of the other, never imagining that the proof had been watching from below. A probe was deployed, one of the most advanced machines ever built for deep exploration, equipped with reinforced plating and AI navigation. Its descent was tracked in real time, monitors buzzing with static, until its lights illuminated something impossible. Out of the dark emerged towers, metallic spires piercing up from the trench floor. The alloy was unknown, neither corroded by salt water nor crushed by the weight of the deep. Patterns etched across their surfaces glowed faintly, pulsing in synchronization with the sonar rhythms. The crew stared in disbelief as the probe relayed its final images. Structures rising like a drowned city, a presence older than recorded history. Then, without warning, the feed went black. The probe was gone. At first, officials tried to suppress the findings, dismissing the disappearance as a malfunction. But more probes followed, each vanishing at the same depth. Some returned only fragments, blurred images of moving shadows, colossal shapes brushing past the cameras, limbs that appear metallic yet alive. The world above remained ignorant, but among military circles, fear spread. Submariners whispered things that moved like predators, unseen but vast, hunting along trench walls. They spoke of pressure waves that slammed into steel hulls, of screams over comms cut short. The ocean had always been cruel, but now it seemed intelligent. The silence could not be maintained for long. Satellite surveillance revealed disturbances, massive displacement of water rising from the trench. Fishing fleets reported vanishing in calm seas, their last transmissions filled with static and panic. When an entire nuclear submarine disappeared without sending a distress signal, the world realized something unprecedented was happening. This was not natural disaster, nor accident of the deep. The abyss had stirred. In response, a coalition of nations formed, bound by fear stronger than diplomacy. Navies mobilized, surrounding the trench under the guise of joint research. Scientists worked in secrecy, decoding fragments of the sonar messages. Some claimed the pulses formed language, others believed them warnings. There were even voices among the researchers suggesting the signals were not directed outward at all, but inward, communication between something vast that dwelt far below. If true, humanity was eavesdropping on a civilization that had never acknowledged the surface until now. As ships circled the region, the abyss pushed back. Strange currents disrupted sonar, electronics failed without explanation, and entire sections of ocean went eerily still. Divers reported hallucinations, hearing voices in the water as though the sea itself whispered. Data gathered showed rising energy signatures far beneath, but no one could agree on their purpose. Were the structures reactors, fortresses, or something beyond human comprehension? Fear became heavier than the pressure of the trench itself. Then the sentinel awoke. It happened without warning. A tremor felt across seafloor sensors, followed by an immense surge of energy. Instruments went haywire as a figure emerged from the trench, too large to comprehend, more shadow than shape. Lights flicker across its body, a fusion of organic movement and mechanical precision. It did not attack, did not move closer, but it turned upward, as if aware it was being watched. For the first time in human history, something from the ocean looked back with intelligence that did not belong to Earth. The sentinel released a pulse, a shock wave that rolled upward through water and broke into the atmosphere. Communications worldwide faltered. Satellites flickered, radios screamed with static, and global positioning collapsed. For a moment, civilization trembled on the edge of silence. Power grid surged, aircraft lost guidance, and entire cities blinked in confusion. When the systems recovered, one truth was undeniable. Something deep beneath the waves possessed power capable of touching the whole world. Panic spread across governments and populations alike. For centuries, oceans have been considered human territory, places to fish, sail, and dominate. But the revelation shattered that illusion. The ocean was not empty. It was not ours. It was alien ground, watched over by sentinels that had slept for eons and now stirred with purpose. And as the coalition forces regrouped, humanity realized that the abyss had just announced its presence. Not with war, not with peace, but with a reminder. The ocean was never theirs to claim. The world waited, holding its breath, knowing the silence that followed was not the end, but only the beginning. The abyss had whispered once, and it would whisper again. The world above had always looked to the heavens for threats, never suspecting that the real danger lurked below their own oceans. After the awakening of the Sentinel, fear spread faster than any government could contain. Nations accused one another of secret experiments, of testing forbidden technology. Conspiracy theories flooded the airwaves, but even the most skeptical minds could not deny what had happened when satellites went dark and entire fleets lost navigation. Something beneath the ocean had reached up and touched the world, proving its presence with terrifying precision. The first response was panic. Coastal cities erupted in fear, citizens demanding answers from leaders who had none. Some believed the oceans themselves had become cursed. Religious leaders spoke of ancient gods rising, claiming the depths were never meant for humanity. In certain corners of the globe, panic turned to violence as people fled inland, abandoning harbors and ports that had once been lifelines of trade. Yet amid the chaos, the coalition of nations guarding the trench moved with desperate focus. If the oceans were not humanity's domain, then someone or something had to be watching, waiting, calculating from below. The sonar signals grew stronger. What had once been faint whispers now thundered like drums through the abyss. Towers once hidden in the dark began to rise, slowly, deliberately, as if the trench itself had been holding back machinery dormant for centuries. Metallic spires breached the seafloor, stretching upward, their surfaces glowing with blue and violet light that illuminated the black waters. The coalition's deep-sea drones captured images of these constructs, not ruins but functioning machines. The towers pulsed, releasing waves of energy that resonated to the ocean currents, creating storms where none should exist. It became undeniable that Earth's oceans were occupied by something older than human civilization. The alien presence was not passive. They were awakening. Ships sent to patrol the region began to vanish. At first, reports suggested rogue waves or natural phenomena, but survivors painted a darker picture. Submarines had been torn apart by creatures larger than whales, biomechanical leviathans that moved with unnatural speed. Their bodies shimmered with both scales and metal, glowing with the same light as the towers. They did not attack blindly but with intent, striking only at vessels that ventured too close to the trench. Desperation led to humanity's first attempt at contact. A fleet of submarines was dispatched, carrying scientists equipped with translation algorithms, acoustic devices, and the hope that intelligence could be met with dialogue. As the subs descended into the trench, the sonar pulses changed, no longer random, but forming patterns that aligned with human efforts. The scientists were elated, believing communication was possible. What they did not realize was that they were not speaking to the aliens. They were being tested. The pulses grew sharper, invasive, seeping into the minds of the crews. Men and women reported hearing voices, not through machines but directly within their skulls. Images flooded their consciousness. Visions of cities drowned, of civilizations reduced to rubble under endless waves, of humans gasping for air as oceans consumed the world. Some resisted, but others screamed, clawing at their helmets as madness took hold. In less than an hour, 2 submarines imploded under pressure after their crews turned on each other in panic. The attempt at peaceful contact ended not with words, but with silence and death. News of the failed mission could not be hidden. Leaks spread online, footage showing fragments of alien leviathans moving through the dark. The world demanded action. Militaries mobilized, sending destroyers and carriers to the Pacific in numbers not seen since global war. The aliens, however, seemed unconcerned. Their towers continued to rise, releasing plumes of energy that reached the surface as glowing whirlpools, sucking down ships with terrifying ease. The Abyss had no need for diplomacy. It was preparing, constructing, and watching. The coalition prepared for war, but the first battles revealed the scale of what they faced. Alien leviathans attacked without warning, emerging from beneath waves with crushing force. Missiles and torpedoes hit their targets, only to glance off armored hides that regenerated within minutes. Fleets that had once been symbols of national pride were reduced to wreckage. Human losses mounted, and the seas themselves seemed to fight against humanity, currents twisting unnaturally as storms followed the movements of alien constructs. Yet even in defeat, humanity refused to retreat. Each ship that sank, each submarine that vanished, was answered with renewed determination. It was during one of these skirmishes that the first true revelation came. A scientist analyzing intercepted sonar signals discovered a repeating phrase hidden within the chaos. After weeks of decoding, the message became clear. The oceans are not yours. They are ours. The aliens were not invaders. They were colonists, seated here long before human history began. The seas were their territory, their inheritance, and humanity had been tolerated only so long as it remained ignorant of the truth. By exploring too deep, by probing too far, humans had awoken guardians who had never intended to share. The weight of the revelation shook the coalition. To fight was to risk extinction, but to submit was unthinkable. Debates raged in secret chambers. Should humanity retreat from the oceans, abandoning its fleets, its trade, its coastlines? Or should it stand and face creatures that had ruled the abyss since before mankind walked the earth? The decision was not made by politicians, but by the soldiers and sailors already at sea. They had seen the leviathans, had heard the alien voices in their minds, and still they fought back. Retreat was not in human nature. The aliens seemed to understand this. Their attacks grew less destructive, more deliberate, as though they were gauging humanity's will. The sonar pulses now carried not only warnings but challenges, taunting the coalition with visions of crushed cities, drowned continents, and firestorms sweeping across the land. Yet each attempt to break human resolve only forged it stronger. In every port, new volunteers lined up, driven not by orders but by the instinct to fight for survival. The stage was set for a confrontation unlike any in history. The oceans, long thought to be human territory, were revealed to be alien ground. The guardians of the abyss had declared their claim, and humanity stood at the edge of annihilation or defiance. The world braced itself, knowing that the next move would decide whether the seas would swallow civilization or whether humankind would rise. Even against the crushing weight of the deep, the silence that followed was heavier than any storm. The abyss had spoken clearly. Humanity was trespassing. Now the question was whether humanity would kneel or fight.